Jessica. I'm Sally. I'm the creative director of OwlCrate Jr. and your biggest fan.
Well, I'm your biggest fan, Sally. I am OwlCrate Jr.'s biggest fan. It's so nice to finally meet you, I guess.
Actually, face to face.
face.
I was going through our Instagram archive today and realized that 3 years ago today, we posted the unboxing photo for our original box, which was one of our very first boxes ever for Nevermoor, the Trials of Morgan Crow.
I can't believe that was 3 years ago. That's crazy. I'm still it's 3 years and I still haven't gotten over the fact that I was in a subscription box. And now two.
Well, let's do a little bit of setup here. Hello to everyone watching. This is already the most people we have ever had on one of these Zoom chats, so I'm very pleased with that. But we are here with Jessica Townsend, who is the author of the incredible Nevermoor series. Book 3 came out in October in Australia and the UK, or earlier, anyways, October in North America.
Yeah.
And we did a special edition box for it, all inspired by the series. So what we are going to do today and for the next hour is go through the box that we put together and then chat with Jessica all about all things Nevermoor.
Yay, I'm so excited.
We've already gathered a bunch of reader questions from social media, but anyone watching right now who has a question for Jessica, you can drop that in the chat and we will save some time at the end to make sure that we get to at least some of those. But without further ado, Jessica, let's go through this box, all inspired by
this amazing box. I'm so excited. I've already opened it in anticipation. Look, I'm ready. I'm ready to pull these things out.
Okay.
It's so beautiful. Like I mean, am I supposed to pretend I haven't seen it yet?
No.
I've totally seen it. Okay, good. Because
to not let you look at this box.
I mean, I would have had literally superhuman willpower if I had somehow not looked through this and not ripped everything out the second that it arrived in my home. It is so beautiful. I have to say, like, it is so well curated. It's so thoughtful. Like every little item is just, I was gasping at everything as I pulled it out. It's amazing. You've done an absolutely beautiful job.
So unlike our regular monthly box, for anyone who doesn't already know, typically we have sort of an all-encompassing theme that is inspired by the book, but the items aren't inspired by the book itself. But with our special edition boxes, we really get to geek out with the fandoms, and so every single thing is actually inspired by the story and the world that you've created. So whichever
it's
item.
Very special. It's just, this is my favorite bit. It was my dog's favorite bit anyway.
They get everywhere. So
shall we?
Which one should we show off first?
What would you like? I'll follow your lead. What would you like me to pull out first?
Well, I have the umbrella in my hand, so we'll start with that.
So do I. I feel like I will forever have the umbrella in my hand.
Yes.
Are you superstitious?
A little bit, but I'm still going to open this.
Yeah, I always say I'm not superstitious. I am a little bit superstitious, but I don't care. This umbrella is going up. It's going right up.
So as anyone who has read the series knows, umbrellas play a pivotal role in the series as a form of transportation, trolley rail. So of course we needed to give our subscribers an umbrella, and it's got a bunch of characters and bits of pieces from the story on it, including Finestra and the Magnificat, and of course Morrigan, and all kinds.
I'm obsessed with it. I love the little wolves. I love the Hunt of Smoke and Shadow on there as well. And Finestra is so cute. Oh, and the little eye. This is the first time I've noticed the little hand with the wonder. Oh,
yeah. So the funny thing about this is it was designed, I think it was like finished being designed January last year, because the book was supposed to come out in March of last year, I think.
No, March of this year. Oh no, originally
it
was going like way back. Originally, I think it was going to be like October last year or something.
Yeah.
And then it was going to be March, and then yeah.
So this umbrella was designed by a local Vancouver artist named Caitlin Bauman, and it was designed long before I had read the manuscript because I don't think
really?
It's done. But that means that this is one of the few items in the box that are more of a throwback to the first two books.
Right.
Those were the only ones that I knew so far, but that means that we got to include things like the Hunt of Smoke.
I think it's absolutely perfect, and I already I mean, everyone I know who because I know I have a couple of friends who ordered this box, and then I have a couple who wish they had ordered it. They didn't quite get there in time. So anything that they've seen or they've mentioned, they've or online, there have been a couple of items that people are probably going to murder me for. This is one of them. This is one of them. I've got to watch my back now, Sally. I've really got to watch my back. So the artist's name is Caitlin
Bauman.
Caitlin Bauman. Caitlin Bauman, you've done a beautiful job. Thank you very much for your beautiful art.
Yes, she's wonderful. She does all kinds of fabric design stuff. So I knew that she would be the perfect person to do this.
She was the perfect person. I'm gonna have to check out. Does she have an Instagram?
Yes, and it is listed in the magazine. Caitlin,
oh, fantastic.
Number 1 on the list there.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I'm gonna check that out.
For anyone who didn't get this box, it is sold out. There are a few that eventually will be able to sell, but it's a limited few, and there is a wait list for those. So we have posted the link for the wait list to anyone who would like to get on that. And then there will be some individual items available for sale at some point as well.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I was going to put this on before we started our chat, but instead we can show it off right now. Hachette and Little Brown was kind enough to supply this official Wondrous Society membership pin. I quite like how it's more dangerous than most of the pins.
Yeah, it is. They did not worry about health and safety, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, you could.
I don't even know
real damage with it.
Do you just yank it? I don't think I've ever.
You just I
haven't worn it for a long time.
The little gold clasp off the end.
I'm gonna stab myself. This is gonna turn into a whole thing.
Hat pin. There we go.
Oh, there we go. I got it. Yay. So this is a lovely item. This is, I mean, I think they hit it out of the park. Excuse me. They hit it out of the park with this. They really nailed it. I will just for anyone watching who is after one of these, because I get so many, probably the most messages and comments and stuff that I get on social media is, where can I get one of those W? And the answer is, I don't know, like in the Hollowpox box, because they're not actually like an item for sale. They're just like a little promo item that Little Brown made. So they're kind of rare as hen's teeth, but I hope that they will maybe make more and make them available somehow, but you never know.
Did you have a hand in designing this? Is this how you imagined it?
Well, no, they sort of came up with it, and they emailed me 2 or 3 different designs and asked for my opinion on them, and we all liked this one the best. This was by far the winner. I think it's really special.
Excellent. So the next item is something that I was very excited about. I didn't know if anybody else would be, and then they seem to have turned into one of the most popular items, and that is...
This is 100% one of my favorite things. I was trying to guess like what might be in it, and I had a couple of little hints from things that you'd asked me, but I did want it all to be a surprise. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing. They are beautiful. They're so beautiful, and they're so like nice to touch as well. Like
sort of
they're so tactile. Yeah.
So these are trading cards for Unit 919. Do you want to explain what and who Unit 919 is?
I would be delighted to. So Morrigan is a member of the Wondrous Society, and she has a cohort of her and 8 other children who become her sort of honorary sisters and brothers, and they are called Unit 919. They're the 919th unit of the Wondrous Society, and this is all 9 of them. We've got Bhatia, Morrigan, Mahia, Lambeth, Anna, Archon, Cadence, my favorite. I shouldn't say that. You're all my favorites. I love you equally. Francis and Hawthorne. These are just lovely, and I think that and the artist, I'm gonna take a little peek. Who's the artist?
Artist is Jordan Kincaid.
Jordan Kincaid, you nailed it. They are they're all perfect. I love how I've only just noticed that Francis is holding a whisk.
Yes.
And looking nervous. That's entirely Francis's brand, holding a whisk and looking nervous.
Yes. Francis. It was really fun putting these together because it was a real exercise in getting to know each of them. So you know, to scour back through all the text.
Of course. Well, when I was looking though, I was thinking like they really you really did that. Like I could tell that was what happened. That it wasn't just like, oh, this person looks like that, she's got brown hair or whatever. It's like Anna is perfect in her little sailor dress, and it's just
staring up and
and Mahir with his books, and Morgan. And I love all of them, but my favorite of these illustrations might be Bhatia. I'll see if I can get up close.
Yes,
I think that is perfect. She's so confident and broad-shouldered, and her hair is amazing. It's brilliant.
Band-aid on her cheek.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! I can't believe I didn't notice the band-aid on her cheek. Oh, that's incredible. Just like so many little details. It's very clever. Well done, Jordan.
Yes, Jordan knocked it out of the park.
He really did.
So speaking of Unit 919, we also have this lovely book sleeve designed by Melanie Never, who has designed all kinds of things for us before, but I think this might be my favorite thing she has ever created.
I am obsessed with this. Again, just the detail, the posters, I should say, because she's got the target sign that represents the society, like amazing, and the little 919 above the door, and the motivational poster, be amazing and be you. Like that's perfect. That's so Miss Cherry. And the polar bear biscuit jar as well.
Yes.
Oh, it's lovely. It's so lovely. I'm going to tuck now that I've been able to take it out of the box. I've been keeping it all together. I was afraid that it would get, so I'm going to tuck whatever my favorite book of the week is going in this little book bag.
Well, we had to make sure when we were making this, because you write thick books. So
I know, they're chunky.
Contain your books.
Oh yeah, this will do the job.
So yes, anyone can take their copy on the road.
That does fit perfectly
in its book sleeve. And this is of course inspired by Unit 919's Home Train, which is Cherry's domain. This is the train that takes them to and from their home and school.
It is. It's their cozy little home away from home and transportation system.
Yeah. And it's, I think, definitely the coziest spot that we've come across so far in the whole world.
I think so. I think it might be, yeah.
But of course, second to
everything else is a little bit too dangerous.
There definitely are some cozy spots in the Hotel Deucalion. Oh, one of the questions that we had from people was getting confirmation on how you pronounce the name of the hotel. I say Hotel Deucalion. How do you?
Yes, I say Deucalion. Yeah. So I say Deucalion, like it with slightly. I know that's, you say it in a much more North American way, but entirely correctly. It's perfect. That is another one of the questions that I get most often as well, is how do you pronounce the hotel name?
Well, one of the many amazing rooms in the Hotel Deucalion is the I'm blanking on the name.
Smoking parlor. There's a lot to remember. Like you said, it's a thick book.
Smoking parlor is this wonderful room that has ever-changing scented smoke to change or enhance the mood of whoever is sitting in the room. So we had this, one of our favorite bath companies, Whipped Up Wonderful, make a series of 3 shower steamers inspired by. Did you get the same one as me? Which one do you have?
I got Milk and Honey, which I'm quite excited about. It's lovely. It is like Milk and Honey. It's perfect. What did you get?
I got Peppermint Smoke.
Ooh.
Digestion. And the third one,
Very
I believe, is a peach, like a peach one to evoke.
Oh, memories of summer. Perfect. Those are really good choices. I'm really disappointed that you didn't go with my other suggestion of sprout smoke. That's
Yes.
I'll always hold that little grudge in my heart, Sally, but that's fine. That's fine.
So I love that in book 3, a lot of it is set around the holidays, around Christmas. So the smoking parlor is pumping out some holiday specific scents. And yes, you did try to sell me on a steamed scented one.
I went so far, Sally. I went so far as in the in the edit, in like one of the final edits, because I had to cut quite a lot out because it was even bigger than it was. They wanted to cut out that specific paragraph in that chapter. If you read through, and I'll just dob myself in here. Anyone who goes back through and reads through the Christmas paragraph, the Christmas chapter, that particular paragraph, it seems a little bit like it could have been taken out, like it was a little bit out of place, and I couldn't quite find the right place for it, but I was just like, put it in there. And my editors were like, this is really cute, but do we need it? And I was like, we do, because I've already told Sally from OwlCrate that these smoking parlor scents are going to be in the book, and I've got my fingers crossed for sprout smoke. So
well, I'm honored and I'm sorry. But
can you imagine if you'd inflicted that on people? Some Brussels sprouts in your shower. Delightful.
Oh, that's really, really funny. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
we've got 2 items left in here before we get to the chat. We've got a felt pennant.
Ooh. This is one of the things that I have people willing to kill me for, and I am so excited. We've done this unboxing, and now I can put it up on my wall. I'm gonna look for the perfect place for it. But it is amazing. I've always wanted one of these because I'm Australian, so the only place I ever see these is like on Rory Gilmore's bedroom wall, and like in pop culture. So I was so excited about this,
like collegiate sort of thing. This was designed by Mallory Young. Her Instagram handle is Unlucky Design. And
Mallory Young, you've just smashed it. You've done a beautiful job. I love it so much. I love the lettering, the typeface, the font, whatever you want to call it. It's incredible. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So it's got
purple as well.
What was that?
And purple.
And purple.
Perfect.
Black and white, but I decided no, it has to be purple.
No, well done. Oh, and a little umbrella too. It's got a little umbrella on the end. Oh, so cute.
Wonders Society Pride. And last but not least is this very sparkly quote print, which has Morrigan's.
This is incredible.
Is it like her Wonder song?
Yeah, so this is the song that she sings to call wonder, basically, which is the energy kind of force of this world that gives her the powers that it has, just for anyone who hasn't read them. And every Wondersmith needs to have their own little individual tune that they sing to call it, and this is hers, and it's quite awful. It's not very nice. It was a song that someone sang to her when she was little, and it's actually not a very nice song. It's
kind of hard to show off on here because it is so holographic.
Oh yeah, you can see it a little bit better there. It's so sparkly, isn't it? It's beautiful.
I'm not going to make you sing it, but do you have a tune in mind? Like, do you?
I do. I will not sing, but I have kind of a vague tune in my head. So all of the songs in the book, because I've realized recently that there are quite a few. Only realized recently, but there are quite a few songs in there. There's the song that Ezra Squall sings. There's Jupiter sings what do you call it, a Christmas song in the new one. There's like various different little bits and pieces all over, and a ridiculous Christmas song, and there will be more to come, and all of them have like kind of a vague tune in my head, or some of them are a little bit more set than others. This one has a pretty clear one. This one also has more verses. That's a little warning for future. I'm not totally sure if or when they will make it to the page, but I think that they probably will. But I have written, I think, either 2 or 3 more verses of this, and each one is, oh no, sorry, not this one, not this song, actually the Little Crowling song, Ezra Squall song.
Right.
So that one has 2 or 3 more verses, and that song is already quite awful, and each verse is worse than the last. So I hope I get to put them in the book one day. if my editors let me. The last verse is particularly terrible. And by awful, I mean like quite sinister.
Okay. Well, I hope they let you.
Yeah, me too.
That's great. Well, that was our special edition box. That was everything.
Hurrah!
Could
Oh
fit.
wait, no, you forgot one thing.
Did I?
The boldly sticker.
Oh, of course. Oh my gosh. You know what? Do I have it tucked in here? Of course. I just have them tucked in the cover. Yes, a sticker in every single one. And this, of course, we couldn't do a box and not feature Fen and Jupiter. So we got them.
It is amazing. I love it. I love their little outfits. I love how their outfits are a bit matched as well. They've both got the yellow and blue. And Fen looks miserable as always, which is perfect.
Grumpy as all get out there.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that one. That's a sticker. And I think my instructions to the artist for this are that I imagine Jupiter as like a slimmer version of the redheaded wildling from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Very,
people
very
say
handsome.
that. Yeah,
Lighter version of him, and I think she nailed it there.
She absolutely nailed it. That's spot on. I love his little waves up the top as well. He's got a good head of hair.
Well, with our remaining just over half hour, we can just chat about the book and then ask all of these questions. So before I dive into my questions, do you mind just giving a bit of a relatively spoiler-free recap of the series so far, just sort of broad strokes?
Sure. Oh, spoiler-free. I'll try to be spoiler-free. So Nevermoor, the first 3 books in the series, Nevermoor, Wondersmith, and Hollowpox. Nevermoor is about a little girl called Morrigan Crow. This young lass here. There she is, who is cursed. So she was born on the wrong day, and because of that, she's blamed for everything that goes wrong in the place where she's from. And the flip side of that curse is that she's also going to die on her next birthday. She's supposed to die, but she doesn't. Spoiler. She gets sort of rescued and spirited away to this secret city called Nevermoor, which is this magical, quite dangerous but fascinating place. And she goes to live in the Hotel Deucalion, which is this living building, and it is run by her patron Jupiter North, who is trying to get her into the Wondrous Society. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that she does get into the Wondrous Society, because if she didn't, there wouldn't be any more books. She gets about it regardless. So she gets into the Wondrous Society. She finds out that she is a again, if you haven't read Nevermoor, you probably
don't give any spoilers for book 3, but you can catch us.
Okay, book 3 spoilers. Okay, so I'll catch you up on the rest. Sorry, I'm very paranoid about spoilers, but so she discovers that she's a Wondersmith, and the next 2 books are kind of her trying to come to some kind of understanding of what that means for her, sort of rejecting it at first, but then kind of wanting to learn more about her abilities and get more skills. Book 3 is about a pandemic. That was an accident. Sorry, everyone.
We'll get into
my bad. It is this is about a disease that is affecting the Wunimals in this in Nevermoor, and Wunimals are kind of sentient magical animals who can talk, and they engage on a human level, but they look like animals to some degree, whether they're sort of part human or fully animal or whatever. Is that, I'm not very good at recapping books. Is that basically where we're up to? I won't give anything else away for Hollowpox, but it's basically that.
No, that is perfect. So I will also try to be spoiler free in my questions. I am going to immediately break that, but dance around something. In the first few chapters of Hollowpox, we learn about C and D. I'll let everybody else learn what C and D stands for. But what you do is you take an event from book 2 and you completely flip it on its head, which I was fascinated by, both just as a reader, but also just trying to wrap my head around how you can juggle both, the entire arc of the series that I know you have had planned out for over a decade now, and a single book at the same time.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest challenge. And now in the writing of book 4, I'm sort of going through that all over again and remembering how tricky it was, because once the book's out in the world, I imagine, I don't have babies, but I imagine it's like having a baby where it's like, oh, that was fine, it was easy, it's fine. You just forget how difficult it um, yeah, it's a tricky thing. I feel like, and I sort of I mentioned this a little bit in the interview and the thing, but it is a case of constantly zooming in and zooming out. So I kind of have to look at everything on the macro and micro level of like, okay, well, in this book and in this chapter and in this scene, X, Y, and Z need to happen. But I also have to kind of sit back sometimes and imagine that against the entire arc of the series. And that particular scene was really interesting because I knew what I needed to achieve, and without trying to give away anything about C and D, but like I knew what the purpose of the society was. I knew that this was the book when they would discover that. I wasn't exactly sure how that would kind of be revealed to them. And it was only actually like I hadn't intended to flip that scene from book 2 in the way that I did. So I was really doing it retroactively. Like I hadn't laid those things down thinking, well, I know that I'm going to flip this in this particular way. Like that scene just happened as it was. And then when I was writing book 3, I was like,
Interesting.
I just suddenly like sort of clicked and thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to totally flip that on its head. And because I wanted something that was really going to feel like they'd had the rug pulled out from under them, and kind of gives them that little like heart skip of like, oh my gosh, like we were in danger and I had no idea. So that was really fun. That was really fun to play with. But yeah, in terms of kind of balancing everything from book to book, and then with the overarching thing, there's no kind of, I wish I had like a particular formula, like a checklist of things that I have to do. If I was more organized, I would do that, sort of be like, okay, well, how does this stack up against this particular thing that's going to happen? But it's just kind of a matter of, sometimes I realize very late in the editing stage that I've laid something down that I have to undo because of how it's going to affect book 7 or book 8 or whatever. And then sometimes I also have a great idea for book 8 or 9 or 6 or whatever, and I think, oh no, like I should have laid that by now. But there's always some kind of workaround, like, you know, like I feel like I should have foreshadowed that, or I should have put that clue down or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things where it always kind of miraculously seems to click into place. Like sometimes there are things that I've written in book 1, 2, and 3 that I was never intending to connect in a certain way, like it was just a throwaway thing. But then some other idea that I have, or some other plan that I have for a book later down the line, I suddenly realized that without me ever meaning to, those things perfectly line up. I'm speaking kind of like cryptically, I know, because it's a difficult thing to describe, but yeah, those moments where everything goes, oh, wait a second, this thing that I'm planning for this book perfectly lines up with a scene that I had never intended, which is very much like the C&D thing. It kind of worked out that way, which was nice.
Cool. Well, as I was reading it, like, I couldn't believe it as it unfolded. So
thank you, because that was one of my favorite things to write. I was really excited, and I was like, sometimes you're writing things like, oh my gosh, I don't want to write today, and sometimes it's like, oh my god, this is so that was a really fun one to write. I like it.
Well, sort of going off of the same question, I know you've talked about the series as in 3 different acts. Now, again, tricky to talk about without spoiling too much. But yeah, what can you tell us about those 3 acts?
Well, I feel like for those of you who have read Hollowpox, you kind of you sort of know what the big Act 1 finale is. There's this very very decisive moment that Morrigan has, which kind of brings to a head. It's kind of, when you look back, you sort of think, oh, of course, that's where that was heading from book 1. Like it had to happen. But yeah, she makes a decision, and it sort of sets up the next 3 books. And the next 3 books, so I think of the first 3 books as really kind of setting the world. Morrigan is sort of because she's so young, and she had expected to die, and you know, everything is kind of a bonus to her, so she's sort of much more of a kind of reactive character in some ways, and things are kind of happening to and around her, and she's sort of scrambling to figure things out in books 1, 2, and 3. Book 4, 5, and 6 are much more where she takes hold of her own powers. She's sort of, you know, she's becoming a teenager. So she's just turned 13 in book 3, and her next few years are much more about her kind of actively staking out her place in the world and deciding who she will be, and not just having her identity kind of put upon her as the cursed girl, the wondersmith, the blah blah blah. So it's much more about her coming into herself, and which is a very teenage thing, I think. And then I don't want to give away too much. It's hard to talk about the third act without spoilers, but it's bigger. It plays out on a bigger stage, which we get hints of in book 3. We get hints of like the larger world. So that is something that in the next 3 books you will see more and more of, is the kind of political machinations of this world a little bit. And then books 7, 8, 9 are, it's tricky to say anything without giving too much away, but basically it's just sort of plays out on a bigger stage.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't.
Kind of. And it's more danger and more everything. And but you know, obviously these, I think it's pretty clear from the outset that these books will get, when I say, I don't want to say darker as in like they'll be, you know, horribly grim or anything like that, but you know, they get more serious because Morrigan ages and the kid and things get more, and she learns more, and she kind of gets much more of a sense of the world around her, and she's looking outside herself more, and she's sort of starting to grapple with the truth of what Nevermoor and the Wonder Society and everything and everyone around her really is. So things will get darker, but you know, my aim is to never, I'm not trying to write a book that's horrible and grim and dark. Like that heart of humor and just the fun, like I never want to lose the fun and the whimsy of the earlier books. So that was a very long answer. That's very good at giving incredibly long rambling answers.
Well, we mentioned this earlier, and the fact that it's called Hollowpox. It's a pox. It's a virus. It's a you know, something is not right in Nevermoor. You have written a book about a viral pandemic in a time when we were all living through a pandemic. The release date was pushed. As our social media manager, Shanley, said, I've heard of viral marketing, but this is ridiculous. What has it been like for you to release it during this time? And then also just, yeah, what parallels have you seen? Because I know that you wrote this well in advance of any of this happening, but
yeah, it's strange. Like even as I wrote it, you know, obviously it was all written. There were some chapters at the end that because I'm quite a slow writer, sorry guys, but I am quite slow. There were chapters at the end that I was still sort of writing in the editing stage, but those chapters were, I mean, if you've read the end, you know that the last few chapters aren't actually really anything to do with, I mean, they are to do with the Hollowpox, but they're more to do with Morrigan and her arc. So that was kind of the stuff that I was still writing in that period. Everything with the Hollowpox was, by the time that March rolled around and we realized what was happening, it was all kind of there. I was editing it in that stage, and as I was going through and editing, because you know, you kind of write things and then forget that you've written them. There were a few things that was sort of, I was editing them and coming across them as they were happening in real time, like lockdowns and then later on curfews, and you know, just and even there's a scene. I don't know if in North America you'd be necessarily familiar with all of exactly what happened over the summer in the UK, but there was this time when Boris Johnson put out, or not Boris Johnson, but you know, his government put out some like warning posters that said something, stay alert, and that was their big warning of like how to deal with the virus, stay alert. And it ended up being this big viral joke on Twitter, and people were doing spoof posters and everything. But I had actually, like months and months earlier, I had written this little part about how this group of very conservative politicians put out this poster, and like the big line on it was blah blah blah, be alert. Yeah. And I just thought like, oh, people are going to think I did this deliberately. Like every time something like that happened, I just had this heart-sinking moment of, I wouldn't blame people for thinking that, because there are a few things that are quite like just kind of shocked me in the moment, just little things that were quite specific. And so I just thought, oh no, I hope people don't think that I'm doing this as some kind of satire or whatever, but it was purely coincidence. And at that point, like the ship had sailed. Like we were putting this book out. There was a point in the beginning where I genuinely thought I was going to have to scrap the book. I asked my editor. We were out for dinner with some people from the publishers. I remember we were in a restaurant in Covent Garden, and it was really quite spooky because this was just as things were kind of kicking off, and Covent Garden in London is like a high touristy traffic area, and we were one of the only groups there was hardly anyone in the restaurant, and at that point we didn't know whether we should still be going out or but we were there in this restaurant, the group of us. It was okay at that time. It was allowed, I promise. It was very early on. It was just people were already being a bit cautious, and I remember having the conversation. I asked my editor Ruth, I was like, am I going to have to scrap this book? And I said it kind of as a joke, but kind of not. And she sort of was like, no, because it's written sensitively, and it's not the same thing, and it's not the same at all. It's really not. It's just that there are these little parallels that were quite sort of spooky. No, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say that I brought this down upon the planet by my weird authorial mind, but I'm not going to not say that. No, I didn't. It's not my fault. Very sorry.
There are many differences, obviously, but one an early line that stood out was one from Elder Saga, who said, "People are dangerous when they're frightened," and I think that that was a real standout line, an idea from the book, that like it wasn't even necessarily the virus itself that was the scary part. It was how everybody in the world was reacting to it.
And I mean, absolutely, we've seen that this year, really, haven't we? I mean, it's played out on a much more kind of scary, sinister, like, very specific kind of way in Hollowpox, but we have seen that, like, people are frightened, and people do behave in scary ways when they're frightened, and that is a theme that I feel like that was the major theme of this book, but that is something that will kind of return, and that Morrigan will return to that idea, and of people being people. I mean, that's basically Morrigan's story. Everyone is frightened of her, and that becomes dangerous for her in so many ways in her life. But yeah, we've definitely seen that in the real world this year, I think.
Well, I have a fun question for you now, and then we're going to turn it over to some reader questions.
Okay.
The question is about the Wonder Society. We get all these little sort of flashes of what the other students get to do while Morgan is in her classes.
Yeah.
And there's all these other classes that you hint at. I was wondering if there's one in particular that you want to take, and if you can tell us some examples of ones that haven't made it in yet. But you just have a list of classes.
There have been plenty that haven't made it in that will probably make it into future books. I really like that side of it. I never feel like I'm able to show enough of that, because obviously everything is from Morrigan's perspective, and particularly in Hollowpox, she was very much off on her own thing. I'm hoping that, well, already in book 4, like, I'm bringing in more of that, and we're seeing more of the actual sort of classes of One Stock, which is quite fun. My favorite, I don't know, I have quite a lot of favorites, but I think my favorite is not anything that's sort of particularly esoteric or magical or anything, but is in Wondersmith, when they are in the living map, when they go and see the living map, and there's this so for anyone who hasn't read it, there is a room that has a huge kind of like a model village, like it's a huge map of Nevermoor, and it's a living map, so it's in real time. So you can see, if you're looking over the map, there's like a glass bridge, you can stand above it, you're looking over it, and you can see all of these boroughs of Nevermoor, and you can see the River Douro flowing through it, and you can see the traffic and the people, and all of that is happening in real time. It's a magical map. And we got to spend some time there in book 2, and I want to return to that. Well, I think, spoiler, I think that we will return to that. Not much of a spoiler, but I think we will return to that in book 4. But that's my favorite thing, because I think that I would be a little bit like Morrigan in that, like, she's got quite a I think she's got more of a methodical sort of brain than I do, but she really takes to that, and that's the one thing in Wondersmith that she is very good at, and she feels like, and a lot of that is because, she has this kind of connection to Nevermoor as a Wondersmith. She's got this thing where it feels like it's her city, but I love that, and I really love looking over maps, and When I first moved to London, I remember I would just like kind of look at a lot of different maps of London and try to memorize, try and fail to memorize like, little streets. But I love that. I really love exploring cities, and I always think of Nevermoor as kind of like a magical London. And if you've ever looked at a map of London, it's not like when you look at, say, New York or something like that, and they've got the, like Manhattan has the very grid like structure. Like, there ain't no grid like in London. Like, it's incredibly organic, and it feels like it's like a weird fungus. That's a terrible way to describe London. Sorry, Londoners, it's not a fungus, but you know what I mean? It's like, it feels like it's organically grown outwards and got all these little spindly streets. So I'm kind of obsessed with that. So I think that would be the class that I like, but there will be lots more. There will be more classes to come, and I'm hoping that I can sort of show more of that side and more of the group together, because that's really fun to write as well. Like, I love writing them, the whole group or parts of the group of 9. It's tricky to balance, because obviously, like, everyone already has their favorite members of Unit 919. People are always telling me they want more Anar or more Francis or more Mahir or Arch or whoever, and I really want to give it to you. I do, but it's so hard because like I've got to keep Morrigan on the page all the time. And so I've sort of said before that each character in Unit 919, we will slowly get to know each of them better. It's just that I can't focus on all of them in every book. I've kind of taken your question and totally gone off on a tangent. I'm sorry. But in book 3, we get to know Anar a little bit more, and that will happen more with each of the characters as we go.
Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to know Anna, and we also got to know a lot more of Lamb in book 3, which I loved.
Yeah. I love Lamb, and yeah, we'll definitely get to see more of her as well.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to some of the questions that came through on Instagram. Everyone watching, I am watching this chat blow up, and I have not had much of a chance to look through it yet because I've been chat. But I will get to those ones. I'll get to as many as I can. We had I never know how to say people's Instagram handles. M. Eofred asked, can you explain how the dates in the series work? For example, age of ending, spring of 2. How did you come up with that naming system?
You would think I could explain it, couldn't you? Wouldn't you? So originally, when I first sort of conceived the series, I was like 18 when I first came up with the idea of it, and then started thinking about it. So at age 18, I was really into, I'm not really anymore. This is kind of embarrassing, but I was really into numerology at the time. And so I was reading all these like little books about numerology. And so the number 9, you've no doubt noticed the number 9 plays a really big part in this book. Number 9 plays a very big part in my own personal numerology from my name and date. So it's my favorite number. I'm kind of obsessed with it. But originally every age was 9 years. And what that meant was that Morrigan, when I sent the book out to agents and when it went on submission to publishers as well, she was turning 9. I always wanted her to be turning 9, and she was supposed to die on her 9th birthday. But anyone who knows anything about middle grade, which apparently I did not know enough, knows that you can't really publish a middle grade novel, or it's very rare anyway to publish a middle grade novel that would have a 9-year-old protagonist, because middle grade is sort of readers age 8 to 12, and we all tend to want to read up. I know that I was like idolizing the 13-year-old Babysitters Club people when I was 7, so I should have known that. But basically there was no way that anyone was going to let her be 9 years old. They were like, could she be 12? Could she be 11? So the reason that she is 11, and the reason that a lot of people sort of comment like, oh, every child protagonist is always 11, they're always 11. It's like, yeah, they're always 11 because that's kind of what the publishers, that's the sweet spot for that group. So she had to be turning 11. So I had to come up with this other kind of way of, I was really kind of sad when that happened, because I really wanted my 9-year ages, but now I changed it in the rewriting of it to be sort of like ages have a more organic thing where they could be 9 years, or they could be 17 years, or they could be 12, and they're always somewhere around there. So it's kind of, there is no sort of particular method to it, is a long way of saying that. I have kind of a spreadsheet that I need to go back, because as we've learned this morning, me and time, like time zones and stuff like that, obviously I'm going to mess this up at some point.
That is...
I'm pretty sure it was me, but that's okay. Don't make excuses for me. It's fine. Yeah, so it's kind of a much more of an organic thing where some ages are longer than others. Each age is given a name at some point during the age or before the age begins. There are chronologists in this world, so we talk about that in the first book, where there are people who it's kind of their field of expertise, it's their professional field, where they use certain markers to predict when the age will end. And in the next, I don't want to give too much away, but in the next couple of books, we'll not in the next one, but possibly in the one after that, we'll learn more about that and how you sort of predict the passing of an age. And then there's also the sky-face clock, which I did notice, by the way, I forgot to say before, the sky-face clock makes a little appearance on here as well, which I love. It's a little clock with no hands. So the sky-face clock doesn't tell the time, it tells the passing of an age. And each, it has this kind of, just this like blank face of a clock, and it changes color as the age goes. So at the beginning of Nevermoor, it goes from this like inky blue, which is the period of the age called the gloaming, and it changes to black to signify that eventide has begun, that it's the last couple of days of the age. And then obviously it changes color, and yeah, we'll hear more about that as well in this book too.
Cool. There's so many things going on behind the scenes that I
know. People are going to get so sick of me being like, you'll hear more about that. You'll hear more about it. It'll come up. Don't worry, it'll come up. I'm so aggravating.
Okay, the next few, you are very much allowed to say, I'm not allowed to tell you that yet, or whatever. But there's some fun questions that have come in. Madeline Leanne asked, will we ever find out what happens when a safeguard is activated in future books?
I'm not allowed to tell you that yet.
I don't think
you will find out, yes.
Will the next book feature Unit 920?
Yeah, so really they should have probably popped up in book 3. I know that I've heard some people say that they're like, where's 920? Yes, they did arrive. they would have arrived around the time of so around the period when Morrigan had come back. So she had her birthday in hospital, and then spoiler for Hollowpox. So she had a birthday, and then there was the opera, and then and that was around the time of like, then she went back to school after that. So I think if I've got that right, that would have been around the time that if they were having anything to do with Unit 920, they would have seen them. Okay. There was kind of too much going on. I could have put in a little something, I probably should have, but there was so much going on that they wouldn't have even have, it would have been a little mention on the page and that was it. Okay. But they are there, and I don't know that they'll play a massive part, but you'll sort of see that they arrive
somewhere in society. Okay. Yeah. Will we ever get to meet Jupiter's patron and Unit?
Yes. So you will know more about Jupiter's patron, and you will definitely know more about members of his unit. Okay. You may or may not meet at least one of them this is a big spoiler, but I'm happy to give this spoiler. That's okay. You may or may not meet at least one of his unit members in book 4. Okay. Yeah. You will. Hey. I'm saying you may or may not, as if I don't know. You will meet them. It's fine.
So you already mentioned that you had a lot of fun reading the mysterious passage that we were talking about with this, event that flipped on its head. Are there any other standout scenes from any of the 3 books that sort of jump out?
There in each book there's always sort of 1 or 2 that are just a delight to write. Like some parts are they're just a slog. Like there are parts of the book that no matter what, like the last few chapters are always a slog because you've got to tie everything up, but the bits that are really from Hollowpox, the bits that stand out to me as being super fun, obviously the Christmas chapters, because Christmas is always so fun to write. The scene with Hawthorne and his family naming their hypothetical dragons is, I don't know, it makes me giggle. I wrote that so long ago. Like probably circa book 1 or before even it came out, possibly. It's been sitting in my little archives waiting for the moment to drop that scene because I've just had so much fun writing it. But yeah, one of the things that I probably enjoyed writing the most was the opera. So the opera about Happen Chance and Euphoriana, and the ridiculous arias that they are singing in the opera. That was a lot of fun. And also there was another thing that I'm sure my editors were like, the opera's great, but you know, it's kind of, we could have it out. And I generally take their advice about everything. Like I'm not, I tend to be like, no, yeah, I'll change it. It's always hard when they want to take out something you love, but in this one particular case, I think I literally wrote the words, "You will take this out of this book over my dead body," or something like that. It's like, it's not going anywhere. I don't care if I'm the only person on the planet who finds this funny, and I probably am the only person on the planet who finds it funny, but it's in there.
I'm noticing Evie Rockin' Reads, who is comes to all of our chats. Evie, I'm so sorry that I have been ignoring the Zoom chat here, because I can see that you're asking questions, but I can't actually find your questions. Just you saying, please check the questions. So Evie, can you ask your number one question again, please? Because I would love to ask it to Jessica. Okay, Evie, fire away, and I will actually see it this time. Check the Q&A tab. Didn't know there was one. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. I've been neglecting this. Okay, Evie, here we go. Hey Jessica, how did you come up with the umbrella? How did the Brawley line come to be?
Oh, okay, so this was kind of a little way back in the beginning. I actually, the morning tide scene where they jump off the roof of the umbrellas, that was one that I added in kind of late in the writing of it. It was before I had sent it off to my agent, so it was already in there at that stage. But yeah, it was kind of an insert late in the book, and I needed some kind of moment that felt like Morrigan was making a decision. She was taking a figurative leap of faith, so I wanted her to take a literal leap of faith. And they were having this party on the rooftop. I don't know, I like rooftop parties. You probably see a lot of things happening on rooftops in this series already, but I like a rooftop, which is ridiculous because I'm terrified of heights. But I wanted her to take this leap of faith, and it's kind of, using the umbrella was sort of an homage to three of my favorite sort of pop culture things. My favorite movie in the whole world is the 1994 version, the Gillian Armstrong version of Little Women that had Winona Ryder. No, wait, why am I talking about no, sorry, that's completely, I wasn't even thinking about Little Women. My favorite movie is Little Women, and my brain went off on something else right then. No, I was thinking about Practical Magic. Sorry, Practical Magic. Have you ever seen Practical Magic?
I love Practical Magic. I love it.
Me too. I've seen it so many times. It's one of my favorite movies. And there is a scene at the end of that movie, as you will remember, because they're a family of witches, and there's a rumor that they're going around the town that they all jump off the rooftop and fly with umbrellas at Halloween. And so at the end they do that. They all hold umbrellas and they're on the rooftop of their beautiful house, and they jump off and float down to the ground. So it was partly for that. It was partly because I love Mary Poppins. I'm a huge Julie Andrews fan, and Mary Poppins is just kind of one of my favorite things in the world. And when Morrigan as a character first came to me, she was an adult in a different book or a different story I was planning to write, and she was very much a kind of Mary Poppins-ish type character, in that she was very no nonsense, had this kind of whimsy about her, but was also very sensible and like quite a formidable woman. And so there was kind of a little hat tip to Mary Poppins. And also I mentioned Gilmore Girls earlier, and also to that episode of Gilmore Girls where she finds the Life and Death Brigade, and they are at that event, and they jump off the platform holding umbrellas, and they're all hooked up to things. So long story short story long, it was sort of an homage to those three things.
Well, that's great. The rest of the question from Evie was that she dressed up as Morrigan for Halloween, which I love.
Oh, so yay!
And everyone thought she was Mary Poppins. So I think the favorite of yours.
Yes, that is the danger.
To be mistaken.
Amazing.
Natalie Clark is asking, is there going to be a Nevermoor movie anytime in the future? Are there any updates on that?
So there's no particular, I can't really give an update on that. I can tell you that things are happening in the background. So for anyone who doesn't know kind of the story of what's happened with the film so far, the film rights were bought by Fox in 2016 when the book deal all happened around the same month. So they have the film rights. There is a screenwriter / producer on board whose name is Drew Goddard, and so he made The Martian and Cabin in the Woods. He's the executive producer of The Good Place. Like, he's made a lot of incredible things. The Good Place is also, PS, like, one of my favorite shows in the entire world, and I bawled my eyes out when it ended. It's such a good show. So Drew is brilliant. I think that, like, when there was a little auction for the rights, and I was very kind of reluctant in a way. Like, it's all sort of felt like a runaway train, because it was around the same time that the book deal was happening, and I was quite scared because, you know, you do see some bad adaptations of children's books, unfortunately. But as soon as Drew was on board, and we spoke, I immediately I feel so much confidence in him. I think that he will do an incredible job. I can say that obviously COVID has nipped at Hollywood's heels a little bit, and I think a lot of things are kind of on hold. So I don't know. Like, the short answer is I don't know, but I know that Drew is very much on board with it, that things are being, you know, written. So I know that there's a script coming.
Cool.
And that's all I can really say. I hope that we will have news at some point soon, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's very exciting that it actually, like, has, you know, names and attached to it and all.
Oh yeah. The thing is about it, and so sorry to go on over, but the thing about it is, like, for me is that, and for Drew as well, is that we both want to do it in the right way. Like, it has to have, it can't be something that's rushed. It's never going to be something with a tiny budget, because it's not that kind of story. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am happy. I know that everyone's very anxious for a movie, but I am happy to wait for it to be right. And knowing that we have the right person kind of writing and producing it, that takes a lot of the anxiety out of it for me.
Right. Okay. Well, we have like 1 minute left of our timeline here. So the question that has come up over and over and over again, and I am also wondering, you might not have an answer for it yet given the state of publishing right now, but when can we expect a book 4?
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't expect it. I will say now, I would not expect it in 2021.
Okay.
But I'm writing as fast as I can. I really am. I really want to get it out soon. But I don't know. Like, we won't have a date on it kind of until I don't know when the date will come out. I'm so stupid about how publishing works even now, and like working on my 4th book, I'm like, when do we announce the date? Like, how far in advance? I don't know. I will tell you that I am writing it as fast as I can, but probably don't expect it next year. But the time will fly, I promise you.
I believe you. Until then, as somebody who just finished rereading the first 2 and need to read Hollowpox again, they're even better second reading. So just read the ones that are out again while you're reading. You've got
Listen 3 now.
They're
Look
all
how thick she is. It'll keep you busy.
Oh, I also wanted to say I ordered myself an Australian copy because it is very, very different from ours, and my goodness, is it beautiful. Not only is it all
so that's the UK.
Yeah.
This is the UK one. The Australian one, if I can reach up to my bookcase here. This is the Australian one.
Oh, that's okay. So this is the UK one.
That's the UK one. Yes, yeah. I love it too. It's so beautiful. So this is this cover's designed by or drawn by Hannah Peck and designed by Alison Padley from Hachette UK. It's stunning. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this. So this is this little what do they call it, the PLC, and I don't know what that means. I always just call it the hidden cover, but it's called the PLC. I've got no idea what that stands for. But the PLC is kind of like a little spoiler in itself for a chapter in the book, because this is the Goblin Library.
Oh,
and I love
okay.
This is one of my favorite things. Is like the little green eyes hidden.
I actually only just noticed the green eyes today while I was
well that's what's so good about it as well, is that you kind of notice something new, and there's little like candles with little golden flickering flames, and I think it's stunning. It's got beautiful end papers as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that you got that one. It is something, it's like an object, right? It's a lovely object.
Jessica, we are over time now. This hour has flown by.
No, that's
Thank you
flown.
so much. This has been honestly, this has been a highlight of 2020, getting to chat with you, because
likewise.
I love your books so much. To
Thank
everyone
you.
joining in, I'm sorry that I didn't get to everybody's questions. There were so many of them. If you haven't read the books, go find them wherever you can, independent bookstores if possible, but if not, order them when you can. And we just cannot wait for book 4, but take your time. And thank you so much.
That is not what my agent and editor would say. Take your time, but don't take your time. Thank you so much. This has been such a treat. As I said, like I'm a huge fan of OwlCrate Junior, and you guys have been so lovely about the books and so supportive from the get-go, from before they were even a book. So I'm very, very grateful, and I love this box. Thank you to all of the creators who were involved as well, and thank you for just doing such a beautiful job. This is what I actually meant to pull out. Thank you for doing such a lovely job, and thank you for this lovely chat, and thanks to everyone who showed up to say hi.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.